Hello and welcome to the Nuremberg Messe podcast. I'm your host Shanakshi Chakravarti, and this is the one-stop platform where we bring you all the industry insights with industry experts themselves. Today in this podcast, we will be discussing all things organic with the founder and CEO of Pratithi Organic Foods Private Limited, who is Mr. Tapan Ray. Mr. Ray, thank you very much for joining us on this podcast. Organics is the talk of the town. We have seen over the last few years the emerging trend and interest and the awareness in the world of all things organic. Whether it is your rice, your pulses, your seeds, your oil, a lot of people, a lot of corporates, a lot of businesses are now entering into this space, including startups. First of all, this podcast is special because you have been a long time associate of Nuremberg Messe and our show, BIOFACH. Please give us your first thoughts on being this podcast.
Yeah, first of all, it's a great honor for me that Sonakshi, you're here, and then you have given us the opportunity to speak about Pratithi Organic Foods Private Limited and also about my experience. So thank you for coming here with your team. And I'm glad that, you also represent the BIOFACH, and where I've been participating for last, I think, 15 years, and I've never skipped any of the BIOFACH show as far as India is concerned. So thank you very much. Uh, I would like to say that, Pratithi today, it is just not a company. I think we created this to make a change, to bring a change in the organic world, not only just India, but across the world. Uh, we would like to showcase whatever experience we have gained. I personally, over the last more than 2 decades, Pratithi got formed in 2018, but we wanted to bring some change in the organic market, because when we talk about organic, it's just not like a product, but it's a process, and we really wanted to showcase that what that process should be, what an ideal organic company should be. Though I worked in a corporate world for more than 2 decades, but after, in 2018, when I left the corporate world, I thought I should create something which should encourage the new generation to create a difference. Very recently, you will be very happy to know that we have become the world's first regenerative gold status company. Regenerative, it is the very holistic organic standard. It starts with the very basic standard of United States Department of Agriculture, NOP standard. You need to have that, and you can opt for regenerative, where you have to talk about the soil, how you are really managing the soil, the land management.
Right.
You have to talk about the animal welfare. You have to talk about the social fairness. You have to talk about the biodiversity. You have to talk about the farm workers. You have to talk about the farmers, how really you are taking care of. So that is the holistic aspect. It is just not using chemicals or stop using chemicals, then you become organic. It is not that. It is beyond that.
So what are the measures is it that you take to ensure the quality of your products?
I think our model is based in 3 pillars. Basically, when you talk about organic, for us, organic doesn't start in the factory, but it starts at the farm. So we very carefully select the farmers, where we try to understand what the crops they grow, whether it has really got a potential to grow over the period of next 10 years, 20 years, whether we can really maintain the quality or not. So everything starts from there, and once we convert them to organic, because it takes some conversion period, then we do the value addition, because the supply chain has to be maintained,
Right.
and the quality has to be maintained at every stages. We start with the farmer. We have the fantastic farmer, the farming group. Then we have the high quality raw material. We do the value addition, and then we do all kinds of quality check, everything, and the packaging in such a manner that it goes all around the world, and it has to be considered as the finest quality ever. So this is the way actually we have been following all these years.
Right.
So it is just not we are a trader, we do the trading, but right from the seed to the shelf. So that is the kind of service, that is the kind of supply chain we maintain for each and every product.
So from seed to shelf, that really is the motto that drives the energy and keeps you all motivated at Pratithi. But what are the different key factors that you look at, like climatic condition, for example? If you can just give us an elaborate answer on that.
Yeah, I think today, if you look at the all natural calamities which we have been facing all over the world, we never thought like the river will get dried up, like in UK, there's a big news the last year, even this year also, the temperature soaring high, 40-degree plus, and and too much of rain all of a sudden. So all this, the catastrophe is happening all around the world, and we really need to stop it. I think it is because of all kinds of industrial development which is happening, which is very randomly happening. So organic is definitely is a different process. It really takes care of the environment, it takes care of the ecology, it really wants to maintain the diversity, and it is nothing like which is polluting the environment. So that climate is very, very important. It is always the first and foremost thing, which we always think.
What are some of your long-term goals for Pratithi in the Indian market? Because we understand that the Indian market is very different from, of course, the foreign market. And India being an agricultural land largely, and the occupation which has been largely agriculture. So how is Pratithi looking at serving the Indian market in the long term?
First, I'll come which the markets we are pretty active. All these years, in my entire year, 27 years, I think we mostly cater to the European market, Swiss market, which is the most matured organic market. And even now in Pratithi, for the last 5 years, our majority of the product, it goes to Europe, to the Swiss market, to Germany, to Netherlands, to Italy, New Zealand, United States. Of course, Europe is more mature, and then after that, the next matured market is United States, or the larger market.
So we are pretty much active. So a very strong global presence for sure.
Yes,
that's brilliant.
Yes. So it is there. So while we are maintaining this, we shouldn't neglect the Indian market.
Right.
But what we understand, Indian market is not yet that matured. I think it has only passed you can say about 20 years, because the government of India started this NPOP standard, and now the Ministry of Agriculture also has the PGS to encourage the farmers to come ahead to get their farm certified, get their produce certified. We would like to go for 100% plastic free packaging. This is one such packaging. This is actually the brown craft paper bag, and we have already done all kinds of testing. So it is basically ready to be launched, under Subai brand. We have got 3 brands. So we'll be starting this kind of packaging, or even the oil, you can see the glass bottles.
Right.
So that we can get rid of plastic, and we don't want to increase the burden on the mother earth with the more plastic. Being an organic company, we really need to. So we need to make a balance.
Environmentally conscious. How have you changed? In fact, over the last few years, when it comes to consumer behavior, what are the changes you have seen over the last few years when it comes to the consumer behavior? That, and of course, in consumerism, in the buying, what are the changes that you have seen?
As far as I think, I'll give you an answer in Indian relation, the consumer behavior as far as India is concerned. I think the COVID, 2.5 years back, the COVID really brought a big change among the consumer, because they have become health conscious, because they think that immunity, which has to come from good food, chemical free food, the food has to be pure, and that will give the immunity. Because it is not that the money, you can afford many things, but when the food, your immunity is not that strong, you really fall prey of any kind of disease. So that has brought a big change. And of course, I think India is one of the largest vegetarian populations in the world, and organic goes very well with that. So I think there will be a good market. Till now, okay, it is growing a little over 20%, but I think there's a huge potential. I think it's the tip of the iceberg right now. What we are seeing in India. I think it's a huge potential. I always, although I used to be the largest exporter of organic food products from India to the world for many, many years, but I used to always tell my customer that there will be a tomorrow where India will be the largest market. At that point of time, maybe we'll not have sufficient produce to sell to you.
Mr. Ray, in fact, not just organic products, we're also speaking of millets this year because we understand and we know that it is the International Year for Millets. The government has been talking about it, and the Prime Minister is extremely passionate about this subject. I believe that even you are launching millet products. If you could briefly tell us about that.
Yeah, I think our association with the millet it goes long back. Like, I used to export millets like amaranth, like, almost maybe 12, 13 years back to European countries. So, but I think being the International Year of the Millet this year, our farmer, they have been traditionally growing it. So it's a great honor for us to bring those produce from our farmer for the consumers. So BIOFACH definitely will be a great platform for us to showcase all these important millets. Like, India is a country of millet, and millet is no longer a product of the or a crop for the poor man. It is definitely, I should say, it's a super food, and it's a very climate smart crop because it can be grown whether there is a harsh climate, there is in a rain-fed conditions. It doesn't need so much of fertilizations, anything. It can come up. It's a very hardy crop.
In fact, my last couple of questions before we end this podcast. A show that you have been associated with for the last 15 years, which is 15 editions. So not once, not twice, ladies and gentlemen, but 15 editions is where Mr. Tapan Ray has been closely associated with BIOFACH, with Nuremberg Messe. So I would kindly ask you to send us a message for the team, for the show, and what is your wish list for BIOFACH 2023?
I must say that keep going BIOFACH, for another maybe 15 years or maybe ever, I must say it's a great team. I've been working with the BIOFACH team India for a very long time. I think it's a great show which brings the like-minded people together. I think this is the only show why I haven't missed out even a single one. The kind of efforts it makes, the kind of the connection it makes with the industry like us, or the farmer, or even the government level, the kind of interactions you have. So you bring everybody together, the policymakers, the bureaucrats, the industry people, then the farmers, and of course the consumer. I think this is the largest platform what you have. So I must say, keep going, even be stronger. And I would like to participate lifelong, so next 20, 15, 20 years, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray,
It's my
for
pleasure.
being on the Nuremberg Messe podcast.